I mean, if I'm having a hard time talking about it and I've worked in this industry for so long, I can only imagine what somebody outside of the industry must think about it.
Hey guys, welcome back. For those of you just tuning in now, the adult film industry is embroiled in this political fight against Prop 60, which will devastate the adult film industry in California. It's going to be on the November ballot, so if you haven't already registered to vote, and if you're in California, please vote no on Prop 60. When thinking about ways to talk about this proposition to my audience, which is predominantly people who aren't in adult film, it's important to talk about the hard things. The things that really go unseen, that is in all of us. I think there are a lot of misconceptions out there that float around because of media and entertainment and how adult film is portrayed by those things. I acknowledge that sex work carries stigma. I acknowledge that being an adult film performer triggers people's prejudices and preconceived notions and misconceptions without them even really realizing that that's what they're tapping into. To combat that, I think it's really important to hear a voice other than mine telling you guys about what adult film is like. So I was able to sit down with some friends because these people know. They have access to the wizarding world of adult film that most muggles and civilians do not. For those of you who are a part of this video and tuning in, thank you so much for contributing your voices to my channel, and thank you, my viewers, for everything. What problems will Prop 60 create for the workers involved?
A whole bunch.
Well, in the workplace, if Prop 60 passes, it has a very large potential to push sex work underground. Then that's where transmissions and mental health and model safety, that's where it becomes really problematic.
I think everything that we have going on is really good, and something coming in and changing it is just, we have our rules for a reason.
It's just going to be a nightmare, not only for people on our level, but like at a government level, and it'll be financially draining for the state.
You know, the biggest problem that I see with it is it just eliminates our choice and our choice of freedom and what we want to do, and it starts to create an environment in which we don't have the ability to make decisions for ourselves as it comes to our own safety. It could open Pandora's box in kind of a landslide of taking away other freedoms that we have as adult performers.
On first seeing it or experience it, be like, oh yes, we're protecting our workers, we're protecting these people. And that's certainly not the case.
Do you think workers should have input on the legislation that affects their industry and ultimately in the adult film industry, their bodies?
I entirely believe that performers and adult industry workers should have all of the say when it comes to the legislation that's going to affect not only their work, but their health and their well-being.
I think it's really rude and blasphemous for some outside source to come in and try to make laws without regard of who they're making laws for. It doesn't create safer spaces when you don't listen.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in any situation, but especially this one, as it relates to us and our health and how we want to manage that, we should have input. I feel like we should have the most amount of input.
I definitely think we should have an input because we're the ones living it.
What is a misconception you think people outside the adult film industry have in regard to our industry?
I think that they have this idea that because you know, sex is our work in our life, that we're dirty.
They think that we don't take care of ourselves, that, you know, we run around and spread STDs, which is really untrue.
Oftentimes, I know many performers who really don't sleep with civilians per se because it's too much risk, because they know that other performers are tested and we are healthy and we do have control of our bodies.
I have never known more about my body and how to take care of myself until I started in this industry.
You know, I think the biggest misconception that I see and hear is that we don't take it seriously, that we don't make the right choices for ourselves, and that we're not educated in what's best for us and our bodies, that we don't take everything into consideration before we make a decision on what we're going to do.
I think that they think we are still stuck in the 70s, like Deep Throat, Boogie Nights genre of porn, and that the adult film workers are not always respected or taken care of, which I have found to be not the case.
What Prop 60 is doing is capitalizing on the implicit bias that people have because of the culture that we live in.
How does stigma and prejudice affect legislation in regard to the adult film industry?
I think a lot of people in legislation are just not open-minded I mean, I could be biased by saying this about them. I think a lot of people are prejudiced against us anyway, just because of what we do, and they view it as negative, so they think that we're bad because of that.
Yeah, I think it plays a really big role because, you know, depending on your upbringing, depending on how much influence you've had in the adult industry or lack thereof, you start to make decisions based off the only things that you see or know. That can cause a lot of damage because you're making decisions or you're making thoughts and processes about things that not necessarily you're educated about, and that can spill into a lot of other areas.
The reason a lot of people aren't educating themselves on it is because they're like, oh, feelings are facts. So if I feel that porn is wrong, then this must be the right law. That's what the proponents of Prop 60 are banking on, are people being emotionally reactive and not doing their homework on it.
People don't know how the industry works, and when people don't know how something works, it scares them and they make gross assumptions that usually put other people in harm's way.
We never asked for this. Nor did we ever want this. And every person that I've spoken to in the industry has told me that they don't want it. It's overwhelming the amount of people that are against this proposition.
You know, it's really hard for someone to come on the outside and tell us what to do with our bodies and how to handle ourselves when they're not in our position. So we should definitely have a say in what we do.
I'm Isabel Dresler, and I'm voting no on Prop 60, and you should too.
Please vote no on Prop 60.
Thank you everyone for watching this week's video. I will be back next week with some more information and more voices speaking out against Prop 60. If you want to support our campaign, there'll be links down below on how you can contribute to our cause. Until then, leave a question, comment, or concern down below. I'll take a look at them, and until next time, take care. Bye. The Don't Harass CA movement is against Prop 60 because it takes away our rights over our bodies. Prop 60 is not about condoms.